Hello, my name is Trudy Brookman. I'm the owner of Trudy Brookman Attorneys, and I thought to broach the hard subject of legal fees with you right up front, because I know that lawyers, we are so used to our style of charging fees, but as a user of the legal services, it can be an intimidating, anxiety-provoking, confusing, and unfamiliar process. I've been there. I've also been the client of an attorney, and I was very anxious about the legal fees. So I thought let's play open cards right up front, and hopefully we can get rid of that complexity. Right, so legal fees are charged, I think, across the world, but certainly largely across South Africa, according to an hourly rate. And each legal professional has an hourly rate that they charge that reflects their seniority and expertise. So then the amount of time that they spend on a particular client's work is taken into account and calculated, and the charge is calculated according to the legal fee. So let me give you an example of all of that. Let's say you give me a phone call and we talk for 6 minutes. That's 1/10 of my hourly rate, which at the time that I'm recording the video is 3,200 Rand. As a result, on your invoice at the end of the month, you're going to see a charge. Telephone call from client, 320 Rand. In other words, 1/10 of the hourly rate. Now, more junior people, more junior legal professionals will have a much lower hourly rate, and as a result, it's a good idea to speak to the most junior person who can give you assistance in the firm. Right, we increase our legal fees, our legal rates per person every year during February. So you'll see there'll be a 10% increase between your hourly rate charged in January to February at our firm. The increase reflects not just inflation, but also the increased knowledge and expertise and skills that we've learned in the preceding year. And because we work in an area which is still developing in law, consumer law is really new in South Africa, we find that we really learn a lot every single year, and that we feel that 10% at this stage is justified. We generally charge a substantial deposit at the beginning of each matter. If we know and trust you, then we may not ask for that deposit. That deposit is paid into our trust account, as is any payment that you make to us. And while it's in the trust account, that money belongs to you. Once we've done the work that we've agreed with you, the proportion that reflects the amount of the work that we've done will be transferred into our business account, and then that money belongs to the firm. So while the money's in the trust account, interest, which would normally belong to you, unfortunately, we can't pay you interest because we are obliged by law to pay that money, that interest on your money, over to the attorney's fidelity fund. In fact, the bank just does that automatically. So even if you pay us money and you ask for it back after a period, whatever's left of your deposit, we pay that back without interest, just so that you know that up front. If you're paying us a substantial amount that we're supposed to keep in trust for you for a substantial period, then we'll invest it in a separate investment account, and then that interest will come to you, except for 5% of the interest, which once again the bank will automatically pay over to the attorney's fidelity fund. I'm sorry, we can do nothing about that. That's a legal requirement. Right. I want to give you a few tips about how you can reduce your legal fees, and also hopefully place your heart at rest and make the whole process faster and more efficient with our firm. The first tip that I have for you is to really put in a bit of effort to prepare, especially for the first consultation. If we are going to consult with you, we sometimes decide not to consult with you, but just to correspond by email or on the phone. because that is much more cost effective for you. So please don't be offended if we don't want to see you. We would have loved to have seen you, because we love consultations more than communication by email, but it very much adds to your legal bill if we spend an hour or two sitting around the boardroom table. So I would recommend that you prepare very thoroughly for an initial meeting or initial email correspondence with us by sending us all the documents, even the ones that are only peripherally relevant to the issue, and we can quickly discard or ignore those if they're not relevant at the time that we receive them, but rather send us more than less. If we're meeting with you, it would be amazing if you could give us photocopies of the documents right up front, or give us the originals and keep photocopies for yourself. And we ask that you bring all of those documents, as well as a copy of your ID and your proof of residence, because we have to FICA most of our clients along to that first consult, or scan an email to us so that we have that right up front. Added to that, I want to ask you very seriously, from time to time, we have a situation where a client didn't tell us the whole story right up front, probably not on account of dishonesty, just because they didn't tell us. They didn't focus on telling us absolutely everything up front. If we discover a new fact that changes everything in terms of the law, which happens from time to time, quite a bit later on in the process, then we have to redo work and charge you again for achieving the same goal as initially. And we had to do that. So we ask you to just tell us everything right up front. Even tell us facts that you think don't support your case, and we can deal with that. It's our job as attorneys to figure out ways around any adverse facts that you tell us as well. So don't hesitate to tell us absolutely everything. And if you're uncertain whether it's relevant, say, Trudy, do you also want to know about this and this and this that happened in the history of the matter, or a thing that I've just heard, and we'll tell you if we think that it isn't relevant. Please tell us everything right up front so that we can understand the situation 100% and not do unnecessary or repetitious work for you. We ask you as well to communicate with us by email. It's quite hard to keep track of phone messages, WhatsApp, SMSs, messages on Facebook, etc., etc. Our primary way of corresponding with clients is by email, and if you communicate by email with us, we have it easily and conveniently in front of us on our screen, and we much less likely to miss a communication from you, or forget about it, or not have it in our file when we need to refer to it later on. So email is the best way to communicate with us. Don't hesitate to pick up the phone if it's a bit more convenient to explain a thing verbally rather than otherwise. And of course, we're available to meet with you over Skype or whatever if that's relevant to the situation. We ask that you don't send us a weekly email to ask whether the matter has progressed, unless it's terribly urgent, and don't feel constrained to bring it to our attention if something urgently needs our attention. But if you are going to be sending us a weekly email, we're going to be charging for weekly emails without being able to progress your matter, and you're going to be paying for completely unnecessary communication. So we charge for every email, whether you send it or we send it. We charge for every phone call, whether you make it or we make it, and whether we make it to the opponent, whether we're calling a witness, or whether we're doing research, etc. We charge for all the time that we spent on your matter, barring one or two administrative things like physically opening a file, allocating a file number to your matter, etc. Allocating your payments to your account, that we won't charge for. That's administrative, but all of the professional attendances and communication and setting up meetings, etc., all of that we do charge for. So please take that into account. And if I can give you, I think the best tip is, if you have 3 things to say to us, once you're drafting the email, think about everything you want to say to us and put it in one email rather than 3. If I get 3 emails from you in a week, I'm going to charge you a 6-minute unit each time, so 320 Rand each time at the current rate, for reading and responding to those emails. well, if you put it in one email, I'm going to send you one charge of 320. So try to consolidate communication as much as possible. What we do in the firm to keep our costs as low as possible is to allocate work to the cheapest person. I think I've mentioned that. We recommend that in order to keep your legal costs down, that we try and finish your matter as quickly as possible. And one of the ways to do that is to have a willingness to settle the matter early on if you get a settlement offer, or to make a settlement offer from your side. The other way to really expedite things, we find, a bit of an unconventional way of dealing with matters from a legal perspective, is to go to the press. That often puts the opponent under huge pressure, and they're willing to settle the matter with you, which obviously ends your legal costs right there. So we ask that you consider those remedies, strategies very seriously right from the beginning. Right. Then that really covers my tips in terms of how to reduce legal fees. I want to encourage you to communicate openly with us, to ask as many questions as you like, and to remember that we are human as well, and really do have an appreciation of your situation and your position. We want to play open cards with you, hence this video message. And we ask for exactly the same treatment from you. Thank you very much for your time. I hope that this has been informative and useful to you.